bad boys, bad boys. I make my new Bad Boys version of this song. So we got a bad boy that I'm gonna talk about. I'm pro police, right? I love all the police officers that serve and protect. Look, I love you. Even when you mess up, I still love you. You still got to get a whooping, but I love you. It's kind of like my child. I got to spank you because it's just that's what's right. But I still love you. Now, Frank Milstead, who is the head of DPS, got pulled over. He was going. The officer said he was going 90. And this is the thing, man. I like this guy, and I hope that this doesn't get him in trouble, but I don't like when people get on and they say things that are not true to save face. If you are the head of highway patrol, you probably shouldn't be speeding at all. But I understand you may speed sometimes, but try to stay under 85. You know why you should stay under 85? Because anything over 85 is criminal speeding. And I'm going to play the interview because he alluded to the fact that it wasn't criminal. But any speed over 85 miles per hour is criminal speeding, and then 20 over any posted speed limit will be criminal speeding. If you go 21 over, obviously you'll meet the threshold of 20 over. And so that's my biggest heartache with what he said. But I'll get into some more stuff because I'm going to give you some insight on the police culture and how this stuff works and why I think that a police chief or somebody, you're never going to give them a ticket. You're just not going to do it unless they get a DUI. Let's roll the first clip, and this is what he said when he was on KTAR. He was on KTAR early on the morning show. Go ahead.
Apparently I was something like 15 over, and it was 75, and we were moving through some slower traffic, and I sped up to get around slower traffic and went back down to the speed limit. But it doesn't matter. I broke the law. He stopped me, and he was very professional, a great deputy. It was just one of those days that it was my turn to get stopped.
So, keep playing it. Keep playing it. I think it's one more part I want to hit on. Keep playing it.
Is going over 85 considered criminal speeding?
No.
It's not?
No, it's 21 over the posted speed limit is criminal.
Okay, so
it's just a misdemeanor.
So you heard him just say that was just a misdemeanor. All you got to do is look up the Arizona revised statute. I'm not gonna do homework for you, so you got to look it up yourself. But you look up the Arizona revised statute, and you look up speeding, and you look up criminal speeding, and you will see that anything over 85 is criminal speeding. Now he said he was doing over 90. The officer said over 90. So, I mean, that wasn't a good look. But let's get into this. Let's get into the big portions of the reason why I want to take this topic and diagnose it. And we're going to talk about it, right? He said he was surprised he didn't get a ticket. There's no way in God's green earth that the head of a police department should be surprised that they didn't get a ticket. I'm telling you guys, as a former police officer, you would never, unless DUI or some criminal, because criminal offenses, you have no discretion. If somebody commits a crime that is a misdemeanor, you have no discretion, right? You're not supposed to be letting people off for crimes. But when it comes to a civil violation of a civil infraction, you're probably, as a police chief or anybody, you're probably not going to get a ticket, right? How dare you give the head man in charge a ticket? Now, some people may have a problem with that, but that's just what it is. When you protect and serve and you put your life on the line, there's some things that come with that, like it or not. And then also, we'll talk about the huge difference between civilians and officers, right? When you're talking about speeding, when you're talking about driving fast, I mean, I want people to understand that there's a big difference between Joe Schmo driving 90 miles per hour, weaving in and out of traffic, and a tactical driver who've been driving for 20 plus years in situations that are way more dynamic than highway going 90 miles per hour. When I was a police officer, I've gone 75, 80 miles per hour on residential streets trying to save somebody's life numerous times. And I could only imagine how fast highway patrol go on the freeway trying to save somebody's life in an open road situation. You're talking excess of well over 100 miles per hour, depending on the circumstances and situations. So this DPS officer, or this DPS, I don't know what they call it. Colonel. I read the title was Colonel, but I got to look up his title because it's very different than the police chief. So he's the head of all of it, and he was going 90 in a Range Rover. That's not going to be a performance issue for that vehicle or his talents as a professional driver. I will tell you this: and this is another thing I didn't like, and I'll play the clip on that. Roll the second clip of this interaction.
We're doing a memorial hike.
Oh, yeah?
For an officer who was killed in the line of duty.
Oh, well, I appreciate you guys doing that.
Now, you can see that his wife is alluding to the fact that he's working for the police department. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not surprised that. Let me make a correction. He's the director. His position is called a director. But I'm not surprised that she's doing that, because you want to let the person know that, hey, you know, you're dealing with a person that's in law enforcement here, and you don't want to be too intrusive about it, because then you come off as a jerk. But if you're just simply saying, hey, you know, we're going to a police funeral, and yeah, it's actually the same department that he works for, the one who's driving the car. Because there, like I said, there is a exception in some cases for people who are law enforcement, as long as you're not committing a crime. And it also depends. Now, I'm not going to say this is all across the board, because when you're pulling people over in different agencies, that can be a adversity too. You know, if you're pulling somebody over in a rival agency, you probably give the chief a ticket. I remember that we gave, when I was at Tucson, we gave the sheriff of Pima County, we pulled him over and gave him a ticket. And then they turned around and gave our chief a ticket from speeding. So there is some banter that goes back and forth. But in the premise of what typically goes on is that, you know, you just don't give the police chief a ticket unless it's criminal. You can give him a warning. Because I think that, and this is what I will say, I think that a warning would indicate that you know better, you made a mistake, go on. When I was a police officer, should have said this from the beginning, is that my qualification for giving people tickets is that I didn't give anybody a ticket unless it was criminal, unless you run a light and crash into another car. If it's civil stuff, speeding, I would never give you a ticket if you understood that you made a mistake and you vowed to correct it. If you were driving on the speed lane, I say, look, I'll give you a ticket. If I go up to your car and you go, what you pulled me over for? I wasn't even speeding. All right. Now you got to go to court, because clearly me giving you a verbal correction wasn't going to help you. So, but that's how it works, man. Like it or not, I'm just keeping it 100. I wish that Millstone would have done it a little differently. But is America under attack by the SJWs? Are we under attack? Are they going crazy? We'll talk about it in the second segment. You listen to the Brandon Tatum Show on KTAR 92.3. I'll see you after the break.